Hello everyone and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am JJ.danlee. This is Ransom Allen,
Yes, hello.
my roommate, and I thought we'd try something different. Something that hopefully, if it catches on, will become a continuous series on the channel, where we review movies, old and new. And today I thought we'd start off with the newest movie that came out on theaters and in Peacock today, known as the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Now, did you have something to say?
I just said yes.
This will be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the movie
I
yet,
haven't seen the movie yet, so Amelia's going to spoil me.
this is your spoiler warning before we start off with the review. If you haven't seen the movie yet, go watch it on Peacock or in theaters and then come back to this video.
Or just watch the video. Like, I'm definitely the kind of person who's like, spoilers are not as important as people think they are.
Usually I am too, but the fan base for this franchise is ravenous.
The fan base has already seen the movie. Anybody who will watch this and would be upset by spoilers has already seen the movie. I guarantee it.
That's good. I just like to cover my tracks a little bit with that. Alright, before we get into a deep discussion about the movie, as deep as you can possibly get with a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I'm going to give a kind of a little history to the movie. I'm not making a timeline about the games. We would be here for hours. Dun dun dun!
Yeah, and I'm on a time limit, so.
I'm on a time limit. Alright, Five Nights at Freddy's. Originally supposed to be made in 2015, picked up by Warner Brothers, left in pre-production purgatory for almost 8 years until Blumhouse picked it up in 2020. And at that time, they were going to start with production and everything, but creator Scott Cawthon, who created the games, and also the writers, could not settle on a screenplay for the movie. And they almost had a whole thing where it was like an animatronic took over New York and everything, so I think, in general, the screenplay they chose was the right choice for the movie. Alright, this is fan and non-fan review.
Yes, I'm a non-fan.
So, let's go ahead and start with first thoughts after, because we did just watch the movie. You first, go ahead.
As someone who is a non-fan of the series, like, I'm aware of it. I know a little bit. I think my only exposure to it was, like, back in whenever the games came out, when I was in high school. I watched, like, a couple of Markiplier episodes, and that's it. That's, like, my entire knowledge of the Five Nights at Freddy's series, aside from what I hear people talking about just on a day-to-day basis, which happens more often than you'd think. So as someone who hasn't played the games, has only seen a little bit, only knows a little bit of it, as a movie, I actually still enjoyed it. There's a lot of stuff in it that was like, it was obvious that they were just like jerking off the fan base, and this is like the point of that movie. But compared to other movies whose only purpose is to jerk off the fan base, it was way better than Spider-Man No Way Home. By a country mile. And I really enjoyed Matthew Hutcherson. Is that his name?
Josh Hutcherson?
Josh Hutcherson and Matthew Lillard. I just got their names mixed up. Josh Hutcherson was pretty good. I loved the dream walking stuff. I don't know why, but that's something, as soon as I realized that was what was happening, I was totally on board. I'm a big Lovecraft fan, so people being able to fucking dream walk immediately captured my interest. Matthew Lillard was Matthew Lillard, so 2 thumbs up for Matthew Lillard. And yeah, I mean, they were not subtle about who Matthew Lillard's character actually was. It was incredibly obvious from the first scene with Matthew Lillard. It was like, yep, he's the child murderer. Just so you know. Like, everyone knows it, but we're not actually saying it, you know. But everyone knows it. Even as someone, like I said, I'm not a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm sure people who are fans of Five Nights at Freddy's, and Amelia, you'll be able to tell me, because you're like, you see that scene with Matthew Lillard, and there's like 100,000 clues as to like, oh, he actually is the child murderer because of this and this and this and this. And it's like, no, it's just his mannerisms and his behavior, and the acting skill of Matthew Lillard told me, yes, he is the fucking child murderer.
Yes, it was. You have anything to add on your first impressions there? Before I go ahead and get mine.
I like Matthew Lillard.
I mean, don't we all? Just look at that face. Look at that child murdering face. I love this man.
Josh Hutcherson was pretty good. Dreamwalking. Is there anything else? I thought the actor playing Abby. I couldn't tell what her name actually was. She did a pretty good job. I liked that the daughter of Matthew Lillard, child murderer, shot him. It's pretty powerful. It always kind of irritates me. Kind of goes both ways. It depends on how it's written. I think it was pretty well done. But they had the scene where it's like, you don't control me anymore. You don't have power over me. And the other person is like, oh, but I do. And when that goes one way, it's like the person just gives up and they break down crying and don't shoot. I'm always like, come on, you can do it. You'd be able to shoot your dad. You can do it. And then she did. She shot her dad, so pretty good. I was mad that she threw away Josh Hutcherson's pills the way she did. That was really irresponsible of her.
Especially into a creek.
Into a fucking creek. She fucking does. It's just into like a canal behind their house.
Please do not throw medication into water sources that can cause cross-contamination and probably kill people, not just children. Hee Matthew Lillard.
It's just like, that's getting into the water now.
That's gonna be recycled. So many people are just gonna drop. I mean, not die, but sleep.
I wasn't counting, but Emilio did say that they actually spent 5 nights, which is thematically really important. That's almost like when someone says the title of the movie. Like, nobody said 5 Nights at Freddy's, but they spent 5 nights at Freddy's. So they delivered on that promise.
Right. They did. They definitely did. All right. I'm now going to geek out a little bit and try not to go on a tangent, but give my honest review of this movie.
Do you want me to prod you if you're going too far off on a tangent?
But, of course, thank you very much, because I love this franchise a lot. Before I do that, though, what do you give the rating on your rating scale? How many ransoms out of 10?
I don't know. It was, and this isn't relevant because it's not on, but my scale is always like 0 to 10. I know a lot of people do like 1 to 10, which I think is weird, because 1 is not 0. But it's not a 0. And it was enjoyable. I would say it was enjoyable. I'd give it a 5. It was a good movie. Maybe 5.5.
Wow.
There's nothing that really like captured my interest, and nothing that like made me feel like excited, truly excited, but nothing that made me feel bad. Like, I did genuinely enjoy Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson. And all the acting was actually pretty good. I didn't have any connection to the source material, but I feel like it didn't alienate me because of that, even though I could tell that its purpose was to just like I said, masturbate the people who are really into the original source material. I'd give it a 6. Give it a solid 6. Actually, the more I think about it, the more I actually did enjoy my time with it.
And let's be frank with this movie. When we started, you almost didn't want to give it a chance.
That's not true. What? I literally, I was at rehearsal. I sent you a text message and I said, hey, do you want me to get pizza? Because I'm coming home soon. And you said, yeah, do you want to watch 5 Nights at Freddy's? And I said, yeah, okay. Yes. I put up no resistance to actually watching the movie. And
That's
I think
right, they did.
And I hadn't talked to Emilio about this, but I've talked to other people recently who are really into the movie and really into the series. And they were all like, oh, are you going to go see 5 Nights at Freddy's? And I said, probably not. But I said, Matthew Lillard is in it, and therefore I am interested in watching the movie. Am I gonna go out of my way to watch it? No, but if the opportunity presents itself, I will watch it. And I held to that promise. Amelia was like, "Do you want to watch Five Nights at Freddy's?" And I said, "Yeah, okay."
Yes.
There was no resistance on my part. I don't know what he's fucking talking about.
It was more of it jokes in passing during it. Like, you asked like twice, which I will say this was a joke on your part, which was funny to me, where it's like, is there any more Matthew Lillard or can I go to bed?
Yeah, because I knew they didn't just have one scene of Matthew Lillard. And so after Matthew Lillard's first scene, I was like, so is he in the rest of this movie or can I go to bed?
Like I said, I know you were joking and it was like poking fun and everything. I just like to tassel you up a little bit like you do to me.
Get better at it.
Hey, I will. We only got time on our hand. All right, here we go. I guess it's
just one hand.
Just
the one hand.
One hand.
Time on the one hand.
All eternity in the palm of my hand.
The power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
That's what I call it when I jerk off. Got time on my hand.
Damn it.
That's what I call my penis, time. That's what I'm calling it now.
Anyways, all right, now that we've heard from the non-fan, it is now time for me to go on to the fan portion of this review, where I review this movie on the perspective of a fan. I am not going to give it a 100% rating on it, even though I am a super fan of this series.
Traitor!
And I'll explain why in general, and of course you can tell me if I'm going too far in anything.
I will.
Alright. I'm going to start off like this. As a FNAF movie that the fan base and us have been waiting over 8 years for, it delivers on many things that all of us have been wanting, from the animatronics just coming to life to the unknown protagonist like Mike Smith coming in and actually being a fully fledged character in most ways. Now, that being said, there are a couple things I don't like about this movie. There is a machine in this movie that is used to cut the faces of security guards that are there.
Yeah, that was dumb.
And it only seems to be used to kill security guards. And it kind of undercuts the whole thing of Foxy, because in the video games and in the franchise, real quick, Foxy is supposed to be the most dangerous, the fastest, and the most lethal animatronic in the first FNAF game, other than Freddy, because he's so elusive and you really can't stop him.
I just hate hearing people say FNAF, by the way.
Sorry, Five Nights at Freddy's. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Five Nights at Freddy's. And it kind of undercuts him as more of a lackey to the rest of them, because Foxy doesn't really do much in this.
That was the pirate?
Yeah.
The red one?
Yeah.
Didn't seem to be of any danger. Like, no one seemed to be in danger by... Well, aside from when they were actually killing, but, like, I didn't feel like Josh Hutcherson was in any danger.
Yeah. The dream walking stuff was phenomenal.
I'm a dream walker.
I love that so much.
That was a completely new thing brought into the franchise. It is actually funny because... Okay, Matt Pat. I'm not going to go a lot on this. Ransom does not like Matthew Patrick.
That's an understatement.
The
Go on.
The reason why Dream Theory is so funny to the fan base in that is because that was his first theory of FNAF, was that it was all a dream. And they incorporated that into something completely different.
Really? That was his first theory? Was that it was a dream?
One of his first theories, correct, that the first 4 games were all a dream.
That's...
Some people say that, but, you know, it's just a theory.
We could also...
Check the comments of this video sometime later, and I will have a link to my response, which is purely responding to the idea that Matthew Patrick thought that it was all a dream was a video worth making. Continue.
Of course. And, of course, as a YouTuber who is prominent in the world of FNAF with over 100 videos on the said Five Nights at Freddy's video game franchise and books and etc. 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 He made a cameo in this movie.
Yeah, big thumbs down to Matt Patrick.
The cameo wasn't really nothing. It didn't drive the story forward. It was more like just shouting out,
That
"Hey!"
scene was still funny. I wish the lawyer paid off more.
Yes,
in the movie, but
that's another thing I was gonna say.
the rest of the scene was funny.
That's another thing I was gonna say that I didn't like about this movie is that the whole angle of the custody battle had no end to it at the end of the movie. It was kind of left off.
Well, presumably the aunt was killed.
Quick side note from the editor of this video, about a day or two later. I actually have a theory on the whole aunt thing. I don't think she's dead. I either think that when she was attacked, she thinks that it was her niece who did it in the back of her head without actually seeing Freddy, and then just gives up on the whole thing. Or the more likely thing is that she fainted when she saw Freddy, and then they did the whole angle that she was entrusted to watch Abby, and she fainted on the job, which showed the lawyer in the court that she's not fit to raise her. Just saying. Back to video.
And there was just no resolution to that. They instead went to the hospital and saw Vanessa.
Which makes me feel like, because I heard rumors that this movie was originally supposed to be 3 hours.
No way. Who?
Once again, that was just a rumor, but I did hear that. Which makes me beg the question that there was probably a lot of ideas that they could not capitalize with. Which, for me as a fan, is kind of disappointing given the time and effort put into this project in general. Over 8 years of pre-production purgatory hell is definitely something that you're hopeful for. But I did like this movie. Don't get me wrong. I may be bagging on it, but I am being fair as a fan who absolutely adores this series that this was a good movie and I enjoyed myself. Matthew Lillard. I could sing the praises of Matthew Lillard all day, but I think Ransom got to be covered on that.
So good. Oh my god.
He really comes back to his roots, and you kind of get that essence of Stu from Scream at the end when it's revealed.
Surprise, Sydney.
Revealed, even though it was genuinely
so
obvious that he was William Afton and not Steve Ragland, the career counselor. Which was fucking hilarious. I don't know how he got that gig. I get essence of Stu, but
Child murderers gotta live regular lives sometimes.
Definitely. I get essence of Stu from the Scream franchise, but in a PG-13 way.
Never seen Scream.
It's actually...
I don't really like horror movies for the most part, so...
Oh, let me get one thing straight about this movie. It is... I would not qualify this as a horror movie.
No.
Not even close. It's this weird niche genre where it sometimes tries to be funny, and it tries to be scary at some points, but I don't know exactly what I would categorize this movie as.
I don't actually think it tries to be scary. Like I was saying as we watched it, I think it presents certain scenes to the audience as like, you're to understand that these are supposed to be scary. They're not actually scary, but if you played the games, you're kind of creeped out by them because you're like, I remember when I played the game and something like this happened.
Yeah.
But like the games, it's like it's not actually scary. You're just supposed to pretend that it's scary.
Yeah.
So that you can capitalize on the popularity of the series.
And one of the notes that I tried to make, one of the counters to that I tried to make during the movie with Ransom, which I thought could be an explanation for that, is in the original games they use a lot of you don't know what happens to your body after you're caught by the animatronics. It's a lot of them telling you what happens and leaving it to your imagination. Kind of like maybe a written RPG in some ways, but also with a visual format, with the limited amount of engine, software, and stuff that the creator Scott Cawthon had at his disposal, which was one of the things that made it a phenomenon that it was when it first came out. Anything to add to that?
I don't know what you were saying.
Really?
No, I couldn't follow you.
Well, long story short, I said thinking that a lot of the horror elements or the gore or anything would be like implied gore because it's a PG-13 movie. And they're trying to appeal to most generations because now a lot of kids
This
are
movie
still...
would never have gotten made if it was going to be rated R. There's
No.
no way. It's supposed to be a kids movie, basically.
Because before we went ahead and watched the movie here, I actually went to the theaters and watched it myself at first. The first time to get all the nostalgia and stuff out, and then I found out that it's on Peacock. And then that gave me the perfect excuse to watch it a second time to actually formulate my thoughts on most of the movie instead of just being like, ah. All of you fans out there that like get boners off of movies that really fulfill fan service know what I mean by
Is that
that.
the noise you make?
Ah. It's kind of like
a turtle having sex?
Yes. All of us fans are are turtles having sex when we see things that we like.
I mean, I've done the same thing over other properties, let's be honest. So
Sometimes literally. Anyways,
do you have examples, Emilio?
Well, you do have a newer obsession that's
Oh yeah. Do you want to hear about my Warhammer army?
This will be one of the running.
I found
If you have this tank, contact Ransom Allen. They are willing to buy it.
looking for the Hellhound tank for a little while now, and it's really hard to find because I think it's like a model that is no longer being made, and it's not in stock in stores. So I found a lot of what I found on like eBay was like $80 to $150. But then I found one model that's already painted that has like the equipment loadout on it that I want, and it's only like $35.
That's really cool. See, told you, the turtle. Now, before I go on to some different questions before we end this review, I'm going to go ahead and give my rating. I would give, as a fan of the series and liking the movie how it is, even with a lot of the flaws that it has in general, I would give it a 6.5 out of 10 Emilios.
Oh wow, only a little bit better than mine.
Yes.
So being a fan only knocks it up by 0.5.
Honestly, I suspect that a good amount of fans, after their first little, like, oh my god, this movie's finally out, is probably going to have the same kind of opinion that I had.
I will ask, because I know there's folks around the theater building that are all about this movie, so I'm going to ask them. Be like, did you see the Five Nights at Freddy's movie? What did you think? How would you rate it? And if they say anything greater than 6.5, I'm going to call them stupid. That's not true. Everyone's opinion is valid, even if less tasteful.
All right. Here's some questions that I'm going to be giving for you fast about the movie, and then you can give me any if you'd like real quick, and then after that you're going to give a song recommendation for them, and then we're going to end the review.
Song recommendation?
We're going to...
Damn, I didn't realize I had to do song recommendations.
All right. Oh yes, I sprang it on them so they can have like one of the first songs in their head for you, because they always have great song recommendations. I'm going to have 3 questions just for the sake of time.
All right.
First question. How do you feel that the days and the nights separated in these movies felt? Do you feel like the nights were more important? Do you feel like the days needed to be in the movie?
I mean, did the days need to be in the movie? Yes. I think if they just did night to night, there would be no story progression. Like all of most of the character stuff actually happens during the day. Because that's when he's interacting with his sister. That's when he's interacting. No, he interacts with Vanessa. But like, if you didn't have the day segments at all, you wouldn't have as much stuff with his sister, which is important. And then the night stuff is where most of the action happens. But which one is more important? I don't think either was necessarily more important. They were both needed for the story. I think this was actually a really well constructed story. Like, I didn't feel like there was a lot of stuff that was just fucking around. Like, there was a great deal of stuff that I could tell. It's like, all right, this is probably a scene full of references that people who are into it are just losing their minds over. But as someone who is not a fan, I don't feel let down. Like, I still feel like I'm watching a story that I can follow, that is giving me as a non-fan a good experience as a movie watcher. And I think that's why I liked the dream walking. I like the day scenes. I like even the night stuff. Like the animatronics killing people was not interesting, but you know, that's like 30 seconds total of the movie. There's actually very little of the animatronics trying to kill people.
All right.
Do you have another question?
Yes, I do. I have two more. My second question: what's your opinion on the animatronics building a fort in it? Do you feel like that needed to be in there? Did it belong? Could have been just kind of.
It was just kind of a silly moment, and I think it illustrated the fact that I think is stated later, that they are literally like children. Like, they're supposed to be the ghosts of children inhabiting these bodies. So, I think it actually was important, because if you didn't have that, you would think that all there is to those animatronics is that they're just murder machines. You're like, how did this place exist as a entertainment place if they had fucking murder machines? And so it kind of humanized the animatronics and showed that they're not just murder machines, like they are children and they are corrupted. And I think that did set up the ending where they turn on Matthew Lillard and kill him, because that gave them a connection to Ava, Abby. That gave them a connection to Abby.
Shout outs to the makeup teacher at MCC.
Yeah, Addie. How you doing? I still haven't read the dramaturgy stuff that you were telling me I need to read. But yeah, it connected the robots to Abby and showed that they're just children. And so when Abby does the thing she does at the end of the movie to get the robots to turn on Matthew Lillard, I think that gives her, that scene gave her the connection to them that was needed to make that scene plausible. Because if they didn't have that scene, at all, it would have been like, why do these children, or why do these killer robots care what some dumb child drew?
And the final question that we're all wondering: would you have given this movie a chance if Matthew Lillard wasn't in it?
No. If Matthew Lillard was not in this movie, I would have had no reason to want to watch it. Even if Emilio was like, the same thing happened earlier today, or the same thing that I was talking about earlier was like, if you had said Five Nights at Freddy's movie, do you want to watch it tonight? And I had the free time, like I do, and Matthew Lillard was not in the movie, I would not have watched it. I wouldn't have had any reason to watch it. I'm like, I knew literally nothing about the movie. Aside, I knew it was a Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and I knew that Matthew Lillard was in it. And so only one of those is interesting to me. There's nothing else about the movie that I knew, or even that I didn't know, that I could have known, that would have made me interested in watching the movie.
All right. Thank you very much. Before we go to the song recommendation, do you have any questions for me as a non-fan to a fan?
About the movie?
Yes, or in general, if you have other questions.
Okay, I was gonna ask you the Alan Alda's 7 quick questions from Clear and Vivid, but that's not, you don't want to do that, so we'll do that another time.
I was about to say, do you want anything maybe clarified?
About the movie?
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to know why Matthew Patrick was in the movie, but I understand why he was in the movie. Like, I understand the reasoning why he was in the movie, but he shouldn't have been there. He's dumb.
I actually like Matt Pat. That's one of the other divides we have. Is I love Matt Pat and a lot of the work that he's done.
I don't know. I don't think I have any questions about the movie. Like, did it do a good job of, as a fan, like, being enjoyable from the fan perspective? Did it give you just, like, a huge amount of things in every scene that you're like, oh, that's a reference, or that's a thing that I know about? Or, like, did it have a lot of that? I'm sure it did, but did it also actually expand on the lore, like, make you feel like this is a new, worthy addition to the story, or was it just jerking off the fans fest? Is like not actually adding anything and just all about making references that people go, I know that thing.
That is a very complicated question, but I'll try to say it as simply as possible. First of all, as a fan, this movie does great at jerking me off at every moment. It definitely has a lot of Easter eggs, like, which in the series in general, Easter eggs are a huge part of the fandom and everything, and the theories and all that. And this movie definitely had a bunch of, which I can make a totally different video on, but I'll leave that to other YouTubers. I will talk about one that surprised me the most. Remember in the beginning when they're at the ice cream shop?
Yeah.
And their mascot on the ice cream shop is a rainbow with a smile on it?
I don't remember that. I remember that their hats were rainbow colored, but
that rainbow is a mascot from the defunct FNAF world that failed. It was an RPG version of cutesy FNAF world, and that rainbow is the fucking worst.
This goddamn rainbow!
Which why I was surprised to see it, and that's why earlier I was like, that fucking rainbow. But, to you guys will know. But to piggyback off of the other part of the question that you asked, does it add anything to the story? As a fan who is up to date on all the knowledge of the story, no. It adds new things to an original story that are different. Like the fact that Vanessa, otherwise known in the game series as Vanny, came in this early and is the daughter to William Afton is not a thing that exists in the video games. She is actually, in the video games, known as a person who was developing the VR video game and was brainwashed by Afton to do his bidding as, like, pretty much the next generation of Afton. So bringing her in as the daughter of him in this was a move, and it makes me think that Scott Cawthon, since he did have a thing in doing this, probably will reveal later that she probably is his daughter. But yeah, that's that. It doesn't really add anything new except for the changes. Like, Abby doesn't exist in the games. And like I said, Mike Smith is pretty much just a throwaway character that's not known except for the part where he might be Michael Afton.
it is. What is funny to me is that, like, they don't say the character's last name during the movie, which I recognize that was supposed to be a reference. I'm like, people who played the games know what this guy's last name is, but they're deliberately keeping me in the dark because they're trying to be like, oh yeah, don't you know this from the games, right? We don't have to say it. But that was the thing that is like, it's not actually relevant to the plot of the story. So I was like, that's fine. You can have that one.
Yeah, that was...
This is going to be a sidetrack.
Go ahead.
Not related to the movie, but related to something you said. You were saying... I don't remember exactly what it was you were saying. But one of the things you were saying about it was, that was a choice. And that just kind of irritates me. Because it's like, alright, you haven't expressed what your actual opinion about it is. It's like, that didn't tell me anything. It's like, yes, it was a choice. That is a choice that they made. Like, what is your opinion on the choice that they made?
I do remember what it was, and I will give my opinion on it.
Go,
but
please.
You do that all the time, too, just saying that, where you're like, that was a choice.
Do I?
Yeah, you do, like, all the time.
I don't know that I do.
All right, so back to it. I believe I said that from the whole Vanessa being Afton's daughter thing. For the movie purposes, I liked it. I did like it in the sense that the movie is a different universe than the video games, and it's like primarily in its own movie verse. Story-wise, if that were put in the game, I feel like it would just be random. But for the movie, I do like it. Which is funny because Mike Smith is supposed to be William Afton's son, Michael Afton, who's going to these different locations trying to stalk his dad.
Alright.
This is an oversimplification to the core because I didn't want to bore Ransom.
Interesting.
It's real.
How do you feel about it as a part of the Five Nights at Freddy's story? Do you feel like it fits in and is an addition to the story, or do you feel like it's an adaptation, like it's a different, separate thing?
The way I can characterize that is that it's a new beginning, so it's definitely an adaptation of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Okay.
The whole movie definitely is not in any way continuing the story that is currently happening in the games, which is years and years into the future from that point.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not that kind of fan who's completely hypocritical and be like, I hate this because it's not exactly like that. I enjoy anything Five Nights at Freddy's. It was a big part of my childhood and everything. And this movie was such a dream since I was little, since a lot of us were little, for that to happen, that it was like, I'm just happy that it happened, and I'm happy that it was good. Even though I do have my gripes. You heard me through the review, I didn't hold those back.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think you were, like, blinded by your fandom or anything.
Which, I'm going to be honest, with this fandom, a lot of people are.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and it's not
Well,
cool.
There's people I think who will be blinded both ways. I think there's going to be people who are like, it's great movie, amazing movie, 100%, 10 out of 10, just because it's Five Nights at Freddy's. And then there's going to be people who are like, it was complete bullshit. It wasn't like playing the game at all. It was like, man, I had a question for a second, but I forgot it.
Okay. Well, I'll keep talking about something for about like maybe a few more seconds, and then if you remember it, if not, we'll just go straight to the song recommendation.
All right. I need to look up my recent songs so I can come up with a recommendation.
The movie at the end definitely feels like they're opening up for sequels. Now, thinking where the movie may go for sequels is a hard thing to kind of understand, because Balloon Boy, everyone's favorite animatronic, makes an appearance in this movie multiple times as a toy, which is funny because it's a play off of the toy animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which is canonically a prequel. So, either they're going to go straight to FNAF 3, in where William Afton returns, or they're going to make the next movie a prequel to where it is still with the toy animatronics in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which, with the current story that's going on, I don't see how that would work. But I do hope so. I do hope they do make sequels, because this was good, and let's be honest, this movie was a movie made of passion, and it was made with a lot of strife. It was made with a lot of challenges that was put in its way, and it was finally put out. So I definitely got to congratulate Scott Cawthon and Blumhouse for finally being able to get this out, at least to the fans, who we've all been waiting for that. So thank you for that. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. It was a hell of a ride. All right. Did you remember the question? Or?
I don't remember what it was.
Oh, well, that's quite all right. If you have it again, then we can. I'll just put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's time for Ransom song suggestion. What's your song suggestion for this review?
So the new Mountain Goats album, Jenny from Thebes, came out today. I've only listened to like the first couple of songs off of it, as I was driving home, but. The first song had already been released as a single previously, and that song was called Clean Slate. That's a good one. That's not my recommendation. My recommendation is actually the second song, Ground Level.
And mustard yellow ivy, visible from the air.
Which I need to listen to again because the lyrics were really fun. And that's definitely a song that I'm like, I gotta listen to that again and like memorize it very quickly because I think I can tell it's gonna be one of my favorites off of the album.
Alright, that was Ransom Song Suggestion Corner. From me, JJ.danlee and Ransom Allen, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching through to this video. If you'd like to go ahead and subscribe and leave a like, we will try to do this a lot more. My name is JJ.danlee. You have a very, very great day. Bye.